What is going on? It is Alex coming back at you with another video. And today we are on day 2 of my mock draft 16.0 with trades. This is going to be rounds 2 and 3. If you are new, feel free to check out round 1 that was posted yesterday, but we'll be doing a quick little recap right here. Below is my face. Wonderful. Below my face is my board. Below that is going to be all the great ways to get involved in the community, as well as being able to take advantage of our 2 sponsors, UnderDog Fantasy as well as Olipop. So feel free to use those links. All those will be in the description as well. Let's get right into this because I'm squeezing this in before work because I love y'all. Yes, I end up working a billion hours a day. It is what it is. Free time is not my friend. So I'll just discuss the trades. I know that, again, I'm going to let those of y'all who do have visual impairments to enjoy the original product of round number 1, but for time's sake, we're going to go over it here. The Bears traded with New York, the New York Giants, to have them move up for Caleb Williams. I wanted Arizona to trade back. I decided to just let Washington have a small trade up to make sure they get their guy. Another trade, the Bears also traded with the New York Jets. So both New York teams, in order to do a quick little swap here. So the Jets ended up getting Olu Fashanu. The Chiefs got ballsy and moved up for Rome Odunze. They didn't really want to wait and see what would fall to them at their pick. We had the Bills move up for tackle Tulise Fuaga. Granted, I did get some good feedback from y'all, and I do appreciate all the feedback for sure. I really do appreciate the fact that y'all do end up being 100% honest with me, talking about how Spencer Brown's been very good, and maybe they won't be opting for a tackle because they don't value it that early. That's why I love to be able to talk with y'all. Again, give criticism in the comment section below. Don't just say it's ass. Say why it's ass. Because, hey, sometimes you're right, and I'd rather not make the same mistake twice. So it makes better content for you, makes better content for me as well. Had Amarius Mims come out because he wasn't in Miami, but then actually apparently he just landed. It was him and Brock Bowers, who were not originally with the team, but they are now. But then we had a small trade back with Pittsburgh. Green Bay moved back up after trading with Buffalo. Green Bay ended up getting Cooper DeJean. Also had a trade back up with the Atlanta Falcons after they traded back with the Kansas City Chiefs. They ended up getting Emeka Buka. Had a small trade here at the end as well, with Washington moving up to select guard/tackle Troy Fautanu to give them the best shot at being able to land at least one of the last viable tackles in the draft. So we had a quick little run on tackles at the end here. Of course, Graham Barton's an interior, and Troy Fautanu might be, but the offensive tackle class is said to be very deep. I don't understand what people mean by that anymore. So regardless, let's get this going. At pick number 33, we have the Carolina Panthers. I'll scroll down until the first player who hasn't been taken, which is Christian Haynes, so y'all can see the rest of the board as such. Pick number 33 for the Panthers. The best thing to do is get Bryson Weapons, number 5 in quarterback grade or overall grade from PFF as a quarterback over the past 2 weeks, showing development, showing comfortability. That's exactly what we wanted to see. So the goal is to get a wide receiver for him. Let's go to South Carolina. Let's just stay in South Carolina and get Xavier Legette, 6'3", 227, absolute beast, and definitely well-deserving of being Bryce's main target there. He is my wide receiver 9, I believe, but dude, this wide receiver class, this class is deep, but I'm going to take him very early and very often. It is what it is. But I love Xavier Legette. He's an absolute freak show. He's essentially let me put it this way. He's a bigger version of what Malik Neighbors was last year. Just take that as you will. That's going to be a massive addition there in Carolina. So big plus for y'all. At pick number 34, the Cardinals. We have so far gone offense only. Yes, I know I've gotten a ton of pushback on that. I get it. I know. And, I always go defense. We have plenty of defenders that we're going to be drafting. Look at all those picks. We're going to have plenty of time to get some defenders. All right. Let's hold your horses. Looking at the best options available, we, of course, have to look at defensive interior with Chris Jenkins here. I think he's by far the best one on the board, especially when it comes to run defense. Let's not overthink it. Chris Jenkins out of Michigan would have been probably my next pick there for Baltimore because of that DC connection, but Chris Jenkins ends up being Arizona Cardinals' 34th overall pick. At pick 35, Baltimore traded back with Washington, ended up getting a nice early 4th-round pick out of that deal, just so the Commanders could secure their guy. Commanders are a little bit light on draft capital, and I think that's perfectly fine. I just wanted to be able to nail the 2 positions they were pretty damn desperate for, which is a tackle as well as a quarterback. So at pick number 35, the Ravens are chilling. And I think Brian Thomas offers a ton of what OBJ could do. So could Troy Franklin. But I do like the idea of the size of Brian Thomas at 6'4", 205 pounds being added into this already pretty damn stacked receiving core. I think he complements Rashad Bateman and Zay Flowers very well and is a good contingency plan in place. So I do like replacing an LSU receiver in OBJ with an LSU receiver in Brian Thomas Jr. At pick number 36 for the New England Patriots, tackle is no longer a viable option unless you want to go Quran Ahmad-Jadjeh. I got to restudy Patrick Paul, but from the tape I've seen over the entire year and last year, I was very, very unimpressed. Quran is a beast, just had a quad injury to end the year. I'm going to be looking at Troy Franklin here for the Patriots, but you can't pass up Tez Walker pairing back up with Drake Maye. I did it in my video this week, but we're going to pair Drake Maye up with Devontae Walker there for the Patriots. At pick number 37 for the Chicago Bears, I actually ended up talking with DWC, my boy Rishab from DeWindy City Productions, about this. And we were essentially talking about the positions the Bears should go. We were talking about quarterback, wide receiver, and edge rusher. Those are the three primary positions. We ended up going wide receiver and edge rusher, so we're on the right track there. Looking at other positions, I could totally see Leonard Taylor just being another massive addition for this team. I could look at safety as well. We have the top safeties on the board. This might be the end of the era of Eddie Jackson in this team. So I definitely want to feature that. But I think the most important position to target is that center spot because it is atrocious and you have a potential all-pro. I haven't fully graded him out yet, so TBD on that. But people love Jackson Powers-Johnson. I think he'd be a massive addition for the Bears. I think receiver, edge rusher, wide receiver, or I already said receiver, center, as well as maybe quarterback. Those are the positions you really need to focus on, like right here, and then add edge in right there. Then you're going to be cooking. At pick number 38 for the Los Angeles Chargers, hard to say no to Leonard Taylor. We ended up going Brock Bowers in the first, and I know that right tackle spot, I would love to fix it. Y'all know me. I like to go tackle early and often. Most likely in the real draft, there will be a very talented tackle there. Probably Kingsley Suamataia is a perfect choice for this team, but it's not the possibility that we have. We could just totally load up on weapons, get Troy Franklin here as well, but I don't like the idea of going full power to the offense when you do need some help on defense. You got Kamari Lassiter here. You got Denzel Burke here. You got TJ Tampa. All of them extremely talented corners. Who would I want as a corner two? Kamari or Denzel Burke, most likely. We also have Dwight McLaughlin, who is my number 24 player in the class after I ended up moving Malik Neighbors up even higher. So Denzel Burke's the guy who I love the most. He is my highest ranked corner available. Super fluid. I do think that as long as he remains healthy, he's going to be an absolute stud. And that's where I'm going to rock. So get the two key positions in Brock Bowers as well as Denzel Burke for corner for the Chargers. At pick number 39 for the Tennessee Titans, win Joe Alt in the first round. No need to overcomplicate things. He's just a consistent, talented player. At pick number 39, I am looking at A.D. Mitchell and Troy Franklin. And deep down, I want to accomplish the goal of acquiring an elite level receiver for this team. But also, I do have a subscriber who continuously wants A.D. Mitchell to the Titans. I'm going to give you that wish, but I'm going to give you that wish while also acquiring another selection. So looking at the players available, you got Leonard Taylor and Troy Franklin, who I think are absolute studs. You also have a really talented guard in Christian Haynes, who should be going sometime soon. So I'm looking at teams that very well might be interested in some offensive line help. It's a little barren, if I'm going to be blunt. So looking at teams that might want some extra receiver help, I could totally see the Eagles getting a little bit more aggressive here, especially actually with JT Tuimalau on the board and the Commanders just lurking right there. Could totally see the Eagles saying, screw you to the Commanders. Commanders fans have not been a fan of this draft. So I'm sorry for that, but you guys are gonna like the draft even less now because I'm about to screw you over. Sorry. I'm really sorry. But we're actually going to do a small move up here. So we actually have a third round pick, a compensatory third, by trading our fourth, or that might be an early fifth round selection with the Eagles. They end up moving up to end up selecting JT Tuimalau out of the Ohio State University. So now you have Kingsley Suamatea and JT Tuimoloau, two of your biggest needs and with really good value, in my opinion. So JT Tuimoloau is a great selection there, jumping the Commanders, who honestly at this point should be moving back to acquire more picks. Again, you got Troy Franklin on the board, and just there's not many teams that are that desperate for a receiver like Troy Franklin. But there are some quarterbacks like Michael Penix on the board. With a team like the Falcons just chilling here, could see a team trying to jump them like the Raiders. I think the Raiders would be a good team to trade with. In the first round, they ended up getting Amarius Mims. It's a perfect opportunity for the Raiders to get good value at a quarterback position because I think the Raiders need it. They do. I don't think anybody's going to disagree with that. And with the sheer amount of weapons, like we've seen how Michael Penix has worked with, players like Rome Odunze, who some people comp to Devontae Adams. I would love to see how he performs here. So for a 5-spot trade, we just did that Eagles trade where it was a late third as in exchange for a 5th-round pick. I think that's roughly going to be the same value as pick 113 here for him. Like we could end up getting a little bit ballsy and, saying, oh, we'll go pick 77 if we give pick 100, right? I don't like that idea. We end up giving up pick 103. I think it's better just to get quantity for the Commanders. Maybe the Raiders are more happy with the keeping the amount of quantity and dropping in quality. That's something that's TBD. But I'm not even going to force this trade. There's no way. They actually denied the 1%. That's wild. I'm going to force it through anyways. I just wanted to roll the dice, and it actually went for that 1% denial. The Raiders are moving up. Could go Leonard Taylor here, but naturally, you don't want Michael Penix to go to another team if you're the Raiders. Could go J.J. McCarthy as well, but Michael Penix, again, it's that Rome Odunze comp to Devontae Adams that just makes me so confident that Michael Penix Jr. could work there. And I have him and J.J. McCarthy literally at the same spot. Therefore, might as well take the guy that you want the most. It costs you a 4th-round pick. This team might need that 4th-round pick, but at the end of the day, quarterback is the biggest wins above replacement position. Only reason Michael Penix is here, mainly because of injuries. At pick number 41 for the Green Bay Packers, we have already selected a defensive back in Cooper DeJean. Again, all the safeties are on the board, but there's just nothing as valuable as what you can actually have there with the upside of Cooper DeJean, especially as a boundary defensive back. But we're just going to continue bolstering that secondary. Why not get Kamari Lassiter? You went to Georgia before. Well, actually, to be fair, TJ Tampa is a better fit. He is a really aggressive corner who's going to be lighting people up. And he's a very talented guy, super consistent. I'd take him above Kamari for this system specifically because of the fact that I want an enforcer. You're going to have two dudes who are leveling players that are now part of your secondary, and TJ Tampa as well as Cooper DeJean. So the Green Bay Packers are selecting TJ Tampa out of Iowa State. At pick number 42 for the Atlanta Falcons, a dream destination actually for Russell Wilson, we ended up moving up for a wide receiver in Emeka Egbuka. Could have ended up with a wide receiver in Troy Franklin here, but instead we get J.J. McCarthy out of Michigan. Would have been happy with either of them. I feel like J.J. could work best in this system, but when you have Michael Penix on the board, he does know how to target and just go balls to the wall. Sometimes when you have a player like Drake London, would be worth it. So that's also why I really wanted to push the pedal to the metal on Michael Penix. But J.J. McCarthy ends up going there to the Falcons. Could still be a good destination for Russell Wilson to train up J.J. for the future. Literally on my last line of my scouting report for J.J. McCarthy, it says upgraded Desmond Ridder. So, if you like Desmond Ridder, you're going to like J.J. McCarthy. You need an edge rusher, but the value to me doesn't equate to that receiver right there. Troy Franklin is still on the board, which is very bothersome. But I am actually going to opt for A.D. Mitchell in this case. He is, 7 pounds lighter at an inch taller. And I do think he actually might end up being more of a wide receiver one than Troy Franklin would be. I am making my subs dream come true. So maybe that's me being a little bit, twisting my own morals, so to speak. But A.D. Mitchell is a super stud, deserves all the credit in the world. As long as he stays healthy, he's well deserving of this selection. So with the next pick, at pick number 44 for the Green Bay Packers, we ended up selecting Cooper DeJean as well as TJ Tampa. And You could actually go for another safety here with Cam Kitchens and Tyler Nubin. I wouldn't blame you remotely. I don't think this team is as, I think this team is really freaking good. This is a good spot to take the first running back because I do need to start pushing these guys up the board. I really do. And Braylon Allen's a beast, but he's not worth a second round pick. I don't know why people think he is, but Trey Benson's a super stud. I just know that y'all absolutely detest it. I want to find somebody who's going to be a really good run defender. There's just nobody worth it at this point. We're trading out. We got Leonard Taylor on the board. There are teams that should be looking for a defensive interior. One of them being the Houston Texans. I do think the Texans should get a little bit ballsy here. And, with their first selection, the Texans ended up getting Nate Wiggins. This is a great opportunity to maximize what you can bring to the table and get really big impact players in both the first and second round. If there's anybody who I'm going to trust to make this happen, it's going to be D'Amico Ryans. So for a 4-spot jump, I probably am going to equate this to pick 116. It's actually almost identical value to the trade up that we did before with the Raiders. So there we go. We are forcing this on through. It's a 94% chance. So we're not going to roll the dice if 99 didn't work. But Leonard Taylor is going to the Texans. Could have went Troy Franklin there, and I think he'd be a great pick too. But Leonard Taylor, you need to go after that superstar talent. At pick number 45 for the Commanders, we moved back, got that 4th round pick, and, maybe we can move back up with it. But we're chilling here. We got our tackle, and we also have our quarterback. This is a great spot for Chris Braswell to come into that edge room. This is the proper value for him. I'm not over the moon about him, but he's still a great player. We still have Christian Haynes on the board as well as, Johnny Wilson, for example, but we'll get there. At pick number 46 for the New Orleans Saints, it's another team that I just think the proper value is for Cam Kitchens, who should be going earlier. There's just not many teams that are desperate for safety. It's a low value position, and none of these safeties performed over the moon. Tyler Nubin kind of did, but it's tough to say that Tyler Nubin's going to attract the way that a lot of these other players have. Nubin would be my dark horse first round safety. But Cam Kitchens has more talent than Tyler. Tyler's better production on the field this past year. But Cam Kitchens, he is ridiculously talented, he's not really put pen to paper, so to speak, this year. He's had some slip-ups. At pick number 47, again, ripping my heart out because y'all know how much I love Troy Franklin. But the Minnesota Vikings, we do still have some quarterbacks on the board. Would love to see Joe Milton on the squad, but, just bring back Kirk. We got Latu, and, that's the best thing that you could really ask for. Now, you could try to target interior offensive line right now with Christian Haynes. I know that, bringing in Dalton Reisner, he's doing a really good job. And, you might not want to mess with that. But when you get the 12th overall player on my board at this spot, granted, you do need a running back. We could trade out of here. That actually might be a good move. Who needs a wide receiver? The Colts do. Ooh, Troy Franklin would be a nice addition on the Colts. I think I went Kool-Aid McKinstry in the first round. That's a good idea. Let's do it. New York could also be a good target spot, but we've already traded some of New York's picks. There's not many other teams. The Bills, we've already gone too ballsy with the Bills. I don't think that. Let's look at the wide receivers that would be available for the Bills. Yeah, they'll be all right. They'll be all right. The Colts, I think you need to land a true bona fide number 1 or number 2, and that's what Troy Franklin is. So we're going to be making the trade here with the Indianapolis Colts. Hello. So I think that naturally this is a 5-spot jump. Could say that pick number 120 would get it done. I can't do that to my Colts fans. So we're going to give pick 120, and then we're going to give a 5th rounder in the next year. That's approximately the same value as what I've been doing for these past couple trades. Ultimately, maybe I've been a little bit light on the trade compensation for move-ups, and that's something that might change in the future. But for now, the Indianapolis Colts are moving up and selecting Troy Franklin out of Oregon. Naturally being able to grab Kool-Aid McKinstry and Troy Franklin, 2 first-round talents, pretty damn nice. At pick number 48, we're back with Green Bay. And, the running backs do need to eventually start coming off the board. But you know what? John Runyon's up for a contract. I know Sean Ryan should be playing, but God knows why he's not. I'm going to go Christian Haynes here. I think it's just BPA. Worst case scenario, you have Christian Haynes develop for a year or two and try him out as a center, but this dude is a freak show. My number 12 player in the class. As a combo Bears and Steelers fan, it's really painful for me to send my favorite players to teams that are rivals, but trust, that's what I do here. This is unfortunately what I have to do. But regardless, at pick number 49 for the Steelers, I might want to change things up and go Tyler Nubin. I know we need a center. We'll eventually get one. We have literally 3 third-round picks because we kind of low-key fleeced the Packers. So I had the Flackers. The Packers end up fleecing us of some good players, but we can get some Tyler Nubin love in here. I think the Steelers do need another safety, and Tyler Nubin would complement what we already have very, very well. Could go a linebacker here, but we've already gone Terry and Arnold, and why not bolster the secondary even more? Tyler Nubin will be the choice. It's like top tier value. You just can't deny it. At pick number 50, though, for the Bengals, when he's on the board, he's the right pick. It's going to be Jatavian Sanders. The first round, we ended up going Tavondre Sweat, which is ridiculous. And then we're going to go back to Texas and go with Jatavian Sanders. So 2 huge impact players who would be immediately starting on this team. Again, Jatavian Sanders, to me, is essentially an upgraded version of Irv Smith Jr. So you're kind of getting just an instant upgrade. Big fan of that. At pick number 51 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, let's take a quick little recap over who's still available on my board. Johnny Wilson's my next best. Just not many teams. Maybe actually the Buccaneers wouldn't be a bad spot for Johnny Wilson, but I don't think I'm going to select him for there. Dwight McGlothern as well. Xavier Thomas, who I naturally continue pushing down the board just because I owe y'all a little bit of realism. I give y'all honesty with being able to see my board, but I also like to give y'all a little bit of realism in there. But at pick number 51 for the Buccaneers, they're going to be bringing back Baker. They ended up going after Dallas Turner in round number 1. I love that pick. He's just such a good player. I do think interior offensive line is a big issue for y'all, and we do have some very good interior offensive linemen still available. Like, you do still have Cedric Van Pran to be the center of the future on this team. And that might be the route I go. Let's go Cedric Van Pran. I haven't been taking him high enough, and this is a good spot for him to go. At pick number 52 for the Minnesota Vikings, we ended up doing a quick little trade back and acquired pick number 120 out of this, so maybe we'll be able to sneak back up in another round. But we have edge rusher. Again, you could go quarterback and go Joe Milton here, which I love the idea of. Just saying, I love the idea of it. I'm not going to do it, but I would love to hear what y'all think about it. I think a running back is going to be the best way to transform this team. Re-sign Dalton Reisner, right? Re-sign him. And then you have a complete offensive line. You have a really good receiving core. And then if you drop Trey Benson in here, Bucky Irving, and then you have Kirk Cousins, you have an elite offense again. So we're going to go in Trey Benson here, who I think he's a phenomenal player. The offensive line for Florida State got significantly worse, and he still performed very valiantly. Had a slow start to the year, but he picked it up by the end, and really that is all that matters. Is when his quarterback went down, Trey Benson still ended up being a key force on that on that offense. So key addition here for the Minnesota Vikings. At pick number 53 for the New York Giants. Wow. English is tough today, gentlemen and ladies. Very few ladies, but those of y'all who are out there, I do love y'all. Whew. Let's get on with this. I did not take my Omega pill today, so maybe that's why I'm dying inside. At pick number 53, though, New York ended up moving up for Caleb Williams. I do think that another wide receiver like Jalen Polk would be a really fun addition at 6'2", 204 pounds. He naturally could be somebody who does play that boundary role for y'all. And, you could end up waiting for Brendan Rice in round 3 to get that instant chemistry. But I think Jalen Polk is just overall a better player. Again, that frame is a pure X build. And that's something y'all have been looking for. So let's give it to you. Jalen Polk out of Washington. Good after the catch as well. We have Kamari Lassiter on the board who's slipping, but naturally he isn't the best at coverage. He's just such a good athlete. He's definitely a project. It's going to be a weird range to where you could see him going. Like, he could end up being a top 15 pick. He could end up sliding out of the second round. It just depends on how confident teams are in transforming the athlete into the player. But at pick number 54, I do think Kamari Lassiter's on a short list of players for me to take here for the Jaguars. I think they did a great job last time going to Georgia for a corner, and this time they're going to do it again. So Jacksonville Jaguars go Kamari Lassiter out of Georgia. At pick number 55 for the Los Angeles Rams, they ended up going after Braylon Trice in round 1 to complement what they have in Byron Young. At this selection, I honestly thought the Rams were ass. They did a great job in the draft. Of course, no one saw Puka Nacua being Puka Nacua. And naturally, these quarterbacks are starting to defy the laws of medicine. But, they're doing a great job there. I could see them going after a quarterback here. Again, obviously, I haven't talked about Shedeur Sanders. He's going to be going back. Carson Beck's already declared to go back. Quinn Ewers most likely going back. So you pretty much down to Michael Pratt, Spencer Rattler, Joe Milton. I don't know if the Rams are going to be that ballsy, so to speak, to go after one. So looking at the alternate options, I think that defense interior, getting a future there with Rukaroro, it's a good idea. I mean, it is a good idea. You have somebody who's extremely freaky athleticism-wise and like crazy body comp. Kind of sounds a little bit like what we already have there in Aaron Donald. But, I have Rook as my number 33 player. He's right next to Devondre Sweat, who went a full pretty much 32 picks earlier. Could be a really good choice. Could go linebacker as well, but the Rams don't value that nearly as high. So it really is up to you. But I'm actually going to go Rukaroro here. I think the athleticism, the value that you can get, and the fact that you can also now have 274, 295, just adding some extra size helps a lot. And Rook is just pure muscle, so he can add even more weight as well to be even more versatile as a defensive interior. At pick number 56 for the Buffalo Bills, I was talking about wide receiver 2 being a position I really want to target for him. We went after Talise Fuaga in the first round, and I do get the sentiment about Spencer being much better this year, but Jermaine Burton's an elite wide receiver too. He's actually graded higher than Rook, who I just took. Jermaine Burton's been a top 32 player for me since the beginning of the year. I didn't think that people would actually catch on for a while, and they didn't. So, it's another lesson. I've made a lot of mistakes on the players that I love. I had Isaiah McGuire as my number 2 player. Of course, his play justified it. His offseason antics, not so much. But it's a lesson that I want to give all of you. If you find a player that you love, just love him. Just do it. Don't care what people think. Because when you're wrong, it's okay. You were honest. And then you learn from your mistakes. But then you're honest again and again and again. And over time, as long as you continue learning, there's a good chance that you're going to end up hitting more and more and more on the players you love. And people will start believing you rather than the consensus. That's my goal here, is to just be genuinely honest and give y'all really good content that is true to my heart, right? So I want y'all, whenever you see a player you love, don't listen. I mean, sometimes it's okay to listen, but if you truly believe in something, believe in it. And if you're wrong, learn why you failed. But never feel bad for believing in somebody. Never do that. That's just not right. Because, being honest is something that is very rare nowadays. So be one of the few. Honestly. People will call you an idiot. I get called it all the time. But, as long as I'm an idiot who's honest, I'd rather be an idiot who's honest than a cool guy who doesn't have any form of integrity. Owe that to y'all guys. So there's my little Alex life lesson right there. At pick number 57 for the Seattle Seahawks, I know that y'all were like, dude, can you do that on another team's pick, please? But we're going to be going after a potential left guard here. Love Donovan Jackson. Might be able to wait till 85 for that. I do think a left guard is definitely in play. We went after edge for y'all before, and I got some pushback for saying like, oh, this is a shot in the dark. But we're going to go after a linebacker here. I love Peyton Wilson, but Junior Colson's my linebacker 1. He is an X-build linebacker at 6'3", 250. Definitely somebody that you want there on your team for the future. We'll go after guard with that next pick if there is the proper value. At pick number 58 for the Dallas Cowboys, center is just, it's very difficult to find the proper value except for Bo Limmer, Drake Nugent, as well as Zach Frazier. It's just a little bit early for me for those guys at the moment. Even though I do have Bo rated higher, I just don't want to put him on a team that would have to put him at center. I wanted to go to a team, for example, the Steelers, you could still put him as a guard. So it would make a little bit more sense there. Regardless, I think the Dallas Cowboys could be looking for some extra beef on the interior, run defense, and not necessarily doing the best of the best. Byron Murphy, he's not the best run defender in the world, but overall, he's been phenomenal. And I mean phenomenal. He's been great as a pass rusher too, and he could be a very good complement there to Mozzie Smith. It's a dark horse need, and I actually would love to exercise this option. T'Vondre Sweat, I know a lot of you guys have been clamoring for him to Dallas. Even though Byron is, 60 pounds lighter essentially and more of a pass rushing threat, he's still a very good run defender. And I think that even over 300 pounds, he still offers a lot. You could go McKinley Jackson in the 3rd round, but with the Colts lurking above that, I doubt that would be possible for us to get him. So Byron Murphy, the second out of Texas, going to the Dallas Cowboys, as well as Jordan Morgan in the 1st. Build up those defensive and offensive lines, win the trenches, win the game. At pick number 59 for the Cleveland Browns, wide receivers are still plentiful at this point. I'm actually going to go Johnny Wilson for the Browns. I love the versatility that Johnny brings to the table. He's just, 6'7", 240. You can't teach that. He's one of my favorite route runners in this class. He just looks a little bit slower this year, but he's been dealing with injuries as well. The majority of his drops come after a period of not playing football, i.e. the first game of the year. He had 2 drops in the first game after he was injured, 2 drops as well. So the majority of his issues come in the first game. The rest of the year, he is rock solid. He's a phenomenal player. I just continue dropping him because people don't believe in him, and it's kind of sad. I got to see him through high school, and I know I got some other subs who actually went to high school where I used to live in Gore Hills. So, shout out to y'all who are those LA natives. We got to watch Johnny tear our teams apart in person, even though Oaks Christian won. So take that, Johnny. At pick number 60, we got the Detroit Lions. In the 1st round, we ended up, I believe, targeting corner with Kalen King. And I'm a big fan of that because of the fact Kalen King is just such a solid corner. And granted, there's some good corners for us here, right? There still is some good corners. Could go an edge rusher because I do think that's a big issue on this team is, edge. But, Jonah Ellis, I doubt that. Like, the question is, should we factor him into this? It's a tough one to calculate. I'm actually going to look it up right now, and he never posts anyways. So he and Amarius Mims are the guys who I continued checking, and I just don't see anything new. I just don't. There's a scouting report on him that just came out. So there's nothing. Yeah, there's nothing out there saying that he's not coming out. We'll treat him as coming out in this one. And at 246, he complements very, very well what you have in Aiden Hutchinson. He plays like he's about 260. I've been a huge fan of Jonah Ellis. He's my number 30 player in the class. So call it bias, but I do love getting the Lions some good players, I must admit. At pick number 61 for the Miami Dolphins, we got Graham Barton, versatile interior offensive lineman in the 1st round. At pick number 61, I actually might want to get some more speed for the future because Tyreek has brought up his potential future plans of being a porn star. It is what it is. But Xavier Worthy could be someone who I really, really like for this team. Could have went after a safety there as well, but that's what I normally do. Nice to change things up a little bit. At pick number 62 for the Philadelphia Eagles, we've gone after Kingsley Suamataia as well as JT Tuimalau. I think for the Eagles, it's a linebacker or Ladd McConkey here. Or corner, to be fair, because Bradbury's ass. And you could get Quinyon Mitchell here, or you could go Dwight McLaughlin. We don't have that 3rd round pick. I think Howie's the type to trade back. Y'all know Howie's the type to trade back. Y'all know. Everybody knows. Howie is a trade back guru. And there's one safety that's left on the board. Of course, the Eagles could be one to lurk for a safety. But I want to see a team that actually might use a safety very well. That's actually the Los Angeles Chargers. They do need another safety. And Kalen Bullock could be a really positive addition on this squad. They have their corner 2, right? They got, who do I select for him at their corner 2? Denzel Burke. So you got Denzel Burke, you got Brock Bowers, and then you got Kalen Bullock as well, who has yet to declare whether he's coming out or not. But a lot of defenders are actually going to USC. I doubt that he stays. And this is a prime opportunity for the Eagles to just move back and still get a player that they really want. This is an 8-spot trade back. So this is going to be a little bit more pricey. I think that Philadelphia should be focusing on the future anyways. So I'm going to actually toss in potentially a 5th round pick as well as a future 4th to move up this much. Like maybe it'll end up being, a future 5th, but yeah, who cares? Who really cares about this much? It's not going to affect the mock draft. I'll toss in pick 251 so the Chargers at least have some more quantity in picks. Maybe you could take a swing on a right tackle down the board. But the Chargers are moving up because this is an impact player. It's the big need on the team. And it's at a position with very little supply. That's going to be Kalen Bullock out of USC. This team needs it. I mean, again, could have waited for a wide receiver or something, but we got Brock Bowers. I think the rest will fall into place. So Kalen Bullock, Denzel Burke, Brock Bowers. The Chargers have reloaded, and they're ready to go. At pick number 63 for the San Francisco 49ers, they ended up drafting a right tackle in the first round. And why do I keep forgetting his name? Tackle Tyler Guyton out of Oklahoma. So with this selection, we're going to be going Quinyon Mitchell to the 49ers. Quinyon Mitchell's an absolute ball hawk, just, tons of pass breakups. I don't know if he increased the amount of pass breakups he had this year, but, he forcing completion 17. I don't think that counts as pass breakups as well, but, just somebody that has an eye for the ball and is going to be a really good corner too. One of my favorite selections there for San Francisco. Continuing on, we have the Baltimore Ravens who ended up selecting a wide receiver in the second round through trade back in Brian Thomas Jr. And I think cornerback is proper value at this point for us to go after one of my favorite players in the draft who's not even listed here. It's not Shaw Smith-Wade, but I love showing love to Shaw Smith-Wade. It is going to be Dwight McGlothern, number 24 on my board, cornerback out of Arkansas. He's just someone who doesn't get enough of the flash, enough of the spotlight, and it's time to give him some of that. This team doesn't need it necessarily because pony up Brandon Stevens is a great corner, but you can always use more corners, and the value is incredible for my number 24 player. So Dwight McGlothern goes to Baltimore. At pick number 65, we're back with the Panthers. And Patrick Paul is here. I could totally see going after offensive line at this point or trying to develop a very athletic tackle in Karan Ahmedjadjeh. Unfortunately, I would have loved to see Johnny Wilson on the board because that's probably the best that could have been here for a tight end wide receiver hybrid. I'm actually going to rock a tackle here. I am, because I do think going after the upside matters a little bit more. So we're actually going to go Karan Ahmedjadjeh here. Star versatile tackle out of Yale. At pick number 66, we're back with the Arizona Cardinals. And we've been on a headhunting spree, so to speak. We got Chris Jenkins. We've also gotten a right tackle in J.C. Latham. We have also gotten Marvin Harrison Jr. So now, with the 66th pick, we need to go after some more defensive players. And look at this. You got some studs left on the board. Ennis Rakestraw, super underrated. Super underrated. You look at him, he's just a little bit on the lighter side, but he's 6 foot plus. But I do like Josh Newton a lot. He's been super consistent, super solid. He was a 3rd round quality corner for me from the get-go and has not changed that at all. When TCU is getting torn apart, the one dude who's the shining knight, or the knight in shining armor, is Josh Newton. He's the only guy who's actually performing well. Well deserving of being put next to Garrett Williams on this secondary. At pick number 67, we've already addressed corner. We've already addressed defensive interior, right tackle as well. Could go for that left guard role now, and Donovan Jackson could be open to continuing to bolster that offensive line. But you got a really smart edge rusher here in Adisa Isaac that I love. But I'm actually going to go after my number 26 player in the draft, in Xavier Thomas. So, Brian, I'm going to just show you some love to give you an ADP boost because, again, PFF doesn't have him listed. But it is going to be Xavier Thomas out of Clemson going to Arizona. So you have a top 32 player. Enjoy it. And pick number 68 for the New England Patriots. This is going to be Patrick Paul. I did not think he was going to be here. Just complete transparency. I did not think he was going to be here. But we've ended up drafting Tez Walker as well as Drake Maye. Now we're going to go after Patrick Paul out of Houston. We'll see what happens with him. The only reason why he's down this far is because of primarily athleticism. But we'll see what happens at the Senior Bowl. At pick 69 for the New York Football Giants, we have already addressed wide receiver and quarterback with Jalen Polk as well as Caleb Williams. With the 69th selection, I would have loved, honestly, for my boy Xavier Thomas to be here. But I do like the idea of going after a guard in Cooper Beebe or Donovan Jackson. The question is who you'd like to go with. It's up to you. I think Cooper Beebe is a little bit closer to John Michael Schmitz in terms of their play style. So I'm going to see if Cooper Beebe can move over to one of those other guard spots and see what happens. He also has played tackle, so in case of injury, could potentially step in there as well. At pick 70, the Eagles are still lurking, and they're going to get their linebacker. And I'm going to go after potentially Jeremiah Trotter Jr. here. I think Peyton Wilson is better. There's a couple other guys who I'd take above him, but Jeremiah Trotter Jr., dad played for the team, just makes sense, and how he gets a little bit better draft capital as well. At pick 71 for the Arizona Cardinals. So we've gone wide receiver. We have gone edge rusher, corner. Again, edge rusher was Xavier Thomas, who was the placeholder. Brian Ugwu was the placeholder for Xavier Thomas out of Clemson. We've gone corner, defensive interior. We've addressed almost every single defensive position now with really good value as well. Could see going after another corner, an Ennis Rakestraw, just because you might as well just continue to load up on the really talented players. But I do think running back at this point is proper value. You got Bucky Irving and Marshawn Lloyd here. Those are the next best, in my opinion. Bucky Irving is a do-it-all type of guy, and I don't really feel like this team has really needed the top-end athletes to perform the best. They just need the guys who can make guys miss and lower their shoulder and gain the extra yard. That's Bucky Irving. He's going to be probably in that 4 or 5 range of speed, but just in terms of making guys miss, he is a special talent. I wouldn't be surprised to see him go early second and shock everybody, but he's a really, really good player. At pick number 72 for the Bears, we've already gone center with Jackson Powers Johnson. We've already gone after wide receiver Malik Neighbors, and we've also gone edge in Jared Verse. So I could see a quarterback for the Bears here, but I do like what the backup is right now in Tyson Bagent. He's a really good player. There's not much more this team desperately needs. You could look in the safety core, but James Williams is the next best guy, and he's not going to replace Eddie Jackson. That's not the guy you'd use to replace him. Could go a corner here for some extra depth. I don't feel like that'd be a bad move at all. There's not many positions I think this team needs, unfortunately. Well, I guess fortunately for y'all. Could get some extra defensive interior help. I don't think that'd be a bad idea. Get some Brand Dorless love in there, get some good more rotation. You already have a top 3 defense, so wouldn't be a bad idea. But I also think wide receiver, you think about it, you get Malik Neighbors on the outside as well as DJ Moore. You get Ladd McConkey, who is going to be your slot guy to replace what you already have there. And you're just going to be able to kick some ass. Darnell Mooney is not going to be there after this year. His contract's up, and he hasn't been spectacular. So Ladd McConkey could be just another way to put more fuel on the fire if you keep Justin Fields. At pick 73 for the New York Jets. Honestly, Ladd McConkey would have been a great choice. The Jets ended up going a left tackle. Let's see. Are there any other wide receivers I really like? Not necessarily. I unfortunately ended up... actually, Jacob Cowing. Yeah, I do like Jacob Cowing quite a bit. I'm going to go Jacob Cowing here. I think this team desperately needs a replacement after, you've got nothing past Garrett Wilson and Elijah Moore's gone. Jacob Cowing, where is he on my board now? He's number 45. So, pretty obvious. Big fan of him. At pick 74, the Falcons are sitting here with 2 picks back-to-back. We've already gone after wide receiver and quarterback. This is a good opportunity for the Falcons to go after an edge rusher. And let's go back to Penn State. I think I did this last time as well. Adisa Isaac, he's just a day 1 impact, very, very smart edge rusher. He's a little bit on the lighter side compared to what I would go for in a perfect world for the Falcons. But, when you can't find that football IQ on every player. So big fan of that. Reports have also been saying that the Falcons are looking for somebody across from AJ Terrell. I don't think they need to as badly as maybe some do, but I'm going to go Ennis Rakestraw here. It's a 3rd-round talent with a ton of upside. He's been very, very consistent there for Missouri. Missouri's secondary has been phenomenal. I'd be a big fan of that pick. Pittsburgh Steelers, we have gone after, we've gone after did we go after a tackle? No, we went after Tyler Nubin as well as a corner and Terrion Arnold. We got 3 picks. I know we're going to get a good center at pick 81. I don't see any other team drafting a center before us. So not going to force that. I'm actually going to force the linebacker position if we're going to do any. No. We're going to force the quarterback position. And I'm going to go Joe Milton here. I've already made my spiel a billion times as to why we should go Joe Milton. So to save you guys time, Joe Milton to me is a phenomenal quarterback who needs to learn how to process a little bit better. But honestly, our offense doesn't our quarterbacks don't process as it is. He has the arm upside to truly use. We've seen with Mason Rudolph what would happen if you actually throw to George Pickens. We've seen the potential. And Joe Milton's not afraid to maximize the potential at the risk of his own reputation. He's a great runner. He lowers the shoulder. He talks shit. He is kind of like Big Ben, but just a worse processor. And he can definitely develop that as time goes on. I'm excited to see what he can do in the nice black and gold. At pick number 77, Raiders, we've gone after a great value in Michael Penix, as well as targeting Amarius Mims. Let's fix that defense, though. Let's get some defensive interior help here. You got McKinley Jackson, who's 320 pounds, freak athlete. That's the guy who I'd want to target in this situation. Just consistent, solid, high upside, great athlete. Hard to find someone like that for 320 pounds. At pick 78 for the Denver Broncos, I think after going, well, Russ is gone. I should have featured a trade maybe for Russ in this, but I just doubt that they'll actually be able to trade him with that contract. But yeah, they got Bo Nix essentially. I think the next best move would be wide receiver or edge rusher. I'm not seeing the proper value here at at edge rusher. So I think when you look at wide receiver, you could get Brendan Rice, who is a very talented player. He's the next guy who I would take. And, he is the son of Jerry Rice, right? Like this is a very good bloodline to be able to tap into. So we're going to go Brendan Rice here to add a little bit more sizzle to the steak of that wide receiver core and give, Bo Nix something really to throw to besides Cortland Sutton, also pony up. At pick 79 for the Detroit Lions, we've addressed corner. We have also addressed edge rusher, the two biggies. Let's look at interior offensive line here. I love the idea of Bo Limmer because he actually played better at right guard than he did at center. And we're going to go back to Arkansas. I have two Arkansas players in Frank Ragnow and Bo Limmer next to each other, just getting really good value across the board. I mean, it would have been great for the Steelers, but there's better centers for the Steelers specifically. At pick 80 for the Cardinals, we've addressed almost every single position under the sun. I think BPA might be the best way to go, and that's actually going to be through Brandon Dorless, the pass rushing upside out of Oregon. It's going to be a little bit on the lighter side because 295, 290, or I think actually we're at 305 we're at 305 for Chris Jenkins. So 305, 290, a little bit on the lighter side, but naturally you're getting a ton of pass rushing upside and versatility. Cannot complain. Steelers, we are back, and we're going to be going after the best center on the board. And, that's between Drake Nugent and Zach Frazier. I like Drake Nugent, honestly, slightly more than Zach Frazier for the value. But at this spot, Zach Frazier is probably the better player. I like both of them a lot. Can't really complain with either of them. But I do worry that I might end up getting one or both of them off the board by the time of our next pick at 99. Got to secure our guy. We'll go with PFF's favorite right now in Zach Frazier. At pick 82 for the Cincinnati Bengals, we've already gone after defensive interior and tight end. You could get a developmental tackle here. I don't think that's the right move for this franchise. Let's get some interior offensive line help. And this is a spot where Donovan Jackson would be a great fit for the Bengals. Just super athletic, might need some time to develop, and can play tackle. He has the length for it too. At pick 83 for the Buccaneers, we've already gone after, what do we do in the last round? Cedric Van Pran, and we've also gone after another defensive line position in Dallas Turner. Now is the proper time to go BPA. Don't think that wide receiver is necessarily the best value here. Could actually go for another guard at this point too. Wouldn't be against that entirely, but linebacker, I think is the best way to go. Edgerrin Cooper, he's a little bit on the lighter side, but he's just overall super talented. So Edgerrin Cooper goes to Tampa Bay. Indianapolis Colts are next at 84. Defensive interior is the way I'm rocking on this team. We've gone after wide receiver in Troy Franklin. We've gone after cornerback in Kool-Aid McKinstry. Looking at the options that are available, the best one by far is Tyleik Williams. I believe in his upside. He is about 290, so a little bit on the lighter side, but he has more frame to add, and some people still think he's 320 pounds. We'll see what happens when it comes to the combine. But he's a freak. I mean, where is he on my board? He is 53. Big fan of him. At pick number 85, Seattle Seahawks, we've already gone linebacker with Junior Colson. I said we were going to go after a guard for him. And there's still some really good ones here, right? I'm actually going to go Drake Nugent, who's a center. I'm going to move him to guard. I think that's just best bang for your buck. Well, you could go after Christian Mahogany, who is a certified, really solid guard. I'll go after the solidified guard. We'll go after the solidified guard. Christian Mahogany, great player. You'll kick him back to left guard because he's a right guard currently. But, one ACL tear away from being a legitimate first-round contender. At pick number 86, well, Christian Mahogany did that the year before, but he was right on the verge of a first-rounder. At 86, the Jaguars sitting here got a corner as well as a wide receiver. So at this point, there's not many actual needs on this team. Could go after another wide receiver if you want to. But offensive interior, again, I think that this is a good spot, honestly, to trade out. Like, just get more draft capital down the board. Got some really good linebackers here, too. I know a team that's going to get ballsy because they want to nail a center here. And that's the Dallas Cowboys. I know I could send the player that I'm thinking of for the to Jacksonville specifically, but I don't feel like they need to. This is going to be a ballsy trade up here, so it's going to take pick 126. We'll end up giving back, pick 200 to the Dallas Cowboys, so they don't end up losing out too much. But the Cowboys are moving up to select Drake Nugent, who I think is a stud. I really do like him. So just a couple picks after Zach Frazier, but there's not many good centers past this, and Drake Nugent's an actual starter in my opinion. So love the center class. Pick 87 for the Los Angeles Rams. I think linebacker at this point is the best value you can have. Peyton Wilson, injuries aside, is a freak. I love him. Great player, top 20 talent in the class when healthy. At pick 88, the Green Bay Packers are back again. And this is where we're going to dress running back. I want to double check that we haven't done that already. And we did not. We got Christian Haynes. I love that. So we're going to go Braylon Allen out of Wisconsin here, keeping him in the area, going to Green Bay. So Green Bay gets Braylon Allen. At pick 89, the Chiefs are finally back, and there's still good value at defensive interior. Hell yes, Mekhi Wingo will be going to Kansas City. Jacksonville back on the board. And, for me, for Jacksonville, I might just want to get more juice on the edge rushing department. And that could be Jack Sawyer, who's just a really solid run defender. It's just, I'm not a huge fan of this draft at this point. I could go after more offensive line. Honestly, Blake Fisher, developing him wouldn't be a bad idea, but you have enough tackles as it is. This might be a good spot to take Zach Zinter. He broke his leg, but the dude is a great player, a really good player. Definitely short list of guys who I would take here. But I mean, it's a tough spot. It's a tough spot to be. Honestly, safety-wise, let's just get James Williams for depth. Why not? Let's get James Williams. He's a great player. We'll take him to Jacksonville. At pick 91 for the Cleveland Browns, we already went after wide receiver for y'all. 99% sure with Johnny Wilson. Hello. I think that you could still continue developing it because Donovan Peoples-Jones is gone as well. Now, that's a risky one because you're going for a wide receiver 4 here. Let's go defensive interior. We've got Mason Smith still here and Michael Hall. It's hard to say which one would actually come out. I will go after Michael Hall, however, because I do love being able to keep a guy in Ohio. At pick number 92 for the Detroit Lions, I still will probably opt for defensive interior here as well. Braden Fiske has been phenomenal this year. One of those guys who I think is very underrated, and I'm glad that he's getting a little bit more recognition. We'll look at his size here. At 297, 6'5", I would love to see the gap penetration this guy has, and I'm going to take a chance for the Detroit Lions. At pick 93, the Texans have also gone up for defensive interior, so defensive interior as well as corner has been taken. I think wide receiver, this is where you could really start thinking about Ricky Pearsall because he's really underrated. I don't know why people don't like him that much, but very good player. Instead, I'm going to opt for a linebacker, and that's going to be Michael Barrett, 6 foot, 240 pounds. He's actually been performing better than my number one linebacker in Junior Colson. Just overall, great player to add in and just be happy. At pick 94 for the San Francisco 49ers, we've gone after offensive line. We've gone after cornerback as well. One of those teams that just doesn't need much. And, looking at it, Jamari Thrash might be someone who's a sneaky pick here for some extra depth at wide receiver. But I think the best move here, honestly, get another tackle. Blake Fisher, I know we already got one right tackle, but Blake Fisher needs way more time to develop than Tyler Guyton. And this guy could actually trade to be a left tackle. Crazy length, crazy frame. Someone who I definitely want on my team to be a swing tackle. At pick 95 for the Baltimore Ravens, probably would have been my pick. We're going to opt for an interior or defensive edge, and we'll consider Mason Smith coming out in this for the time being. I love Mason Smith, 6'6", 305. Just needs to learn how to play in that body frame, but definitely could end up going back or transferring. At pick 96 for the Jacksonville Jaguars, I think I actually might go Javion Cohen here. I think he's extremely underrated. Zach Zinter is just such a good guard. He's such a good player. It just sucks that he broke his leg. So I don't think I'm going to include him in this. We'll go Javion Cohen. We're going to continue the Miami train. His high-end reps are phenomenal. He's played very well for Miami. Just needs to remain consistent. At pick 97, this was the trade that we made with Philadelphia. So Tennessee has gotten Joe Alt as well as A.D. Mitchell. I can't really complain about that, if I'm going to be honest. With this selection, we are going to be actually going after Javon Bullard, slot safety out of Georgia. I love the athleticism. He's high octane. That's what he is. And he could definitely be that Kevin Byard replacement for the long run. At pick 98, back with San Francisco. Again, another team that doesn't need anything. Could look at someone like Kyrie Jackson to be a day one impact, but I really like the idea of just putting Chris Abrams-Drain on this player and just getting the best player on the board. Should be taken way earlier. He is actually my number 68 player, and we're going to prosper. At pick 99 for the Pittsburgh Steelers, we've drafted center, we have drafted QB, we have drafted safety as well as corner. We need a linebacker desperately. And you got Tommy Eichenberg here. We also have Defwan Olufosho, who I'm a very, very big fan of, but I doubt he goes before these other linebackers before him. Tommy Eichenberg will be the selection. Huge fan of him adding to that Steelers linebacking core. And finally, at pick 100, we're back with the Commanders. Hello, Commanders fans. You're actually ending off the draft. Big fan of it. We have gotten offensive tackle. We have already gotten a quarterback. And we got an edge rusher who's really good as well. So we're prospering. I want to double check. What was that edge rusher that we ended up getting? Chris Braswell, yeah. Top tier value. So the next best position in ending off the draft probably would be another offensive line position. I don't think the value's there. So maybe not the best position to target. Corner, you still got some really good ones on the board. My next best player is probably going to be a linebacker in Tyron Hopper. Could actually work as a hybrid edge rusher too. So we're going to take Tyron Hopper. I love Tyron. So this is a great guy to end off on. So Tyron Hopper ends up going to the Commanders to be a flex linebacker edge rusher. That is going to be the video. We made it. Hallelujah. Thank you guys so much for watching, supporting the show as always. I'll see you on the far side. Peace.